So give a little context because now we're live.
Okay.
So talking
Oh, we
about it.
are.
Yeah. I just like
Oh,
I just,
okay.
I just like sniped it because I was like, we always do this. We always have like a full episode of talking before we have it.
Totally.
Um,
So
you sent me an
we're
article.
going to bring us in not Libran fashion, New Moon Libra. We're going to bring up a kind of controversial topic.
I mean, I feel like a Libra in its most elevated state. Oh wait, shit! Tyler's calling me. Let me just tell him I'm on live.
Like
A
brings
Libra,
up material to actually
like yeah, can hold the balance. I was just like, what am I? Do I have a channel? A Libra can hold the balance. They would be actually the best person to hold space for a controversial topic.
I have Mercury and Libra conjunct
Yeah.
Pluto. So there you go. There you go. So yeah, it is a new moon in Libra. We're going to get to that. But so there was an article from this actually not well-known magazine, although I feel like this essay is going to put it on the map.
On Compact.
And Compact Mag, by an essay by a woman named Helen Andrews. Can you put it in the notes? Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, let me. Am I allowed? Will they allow it?
Will they allow it? So I don't know if any of you who are joining us.
I might have to, like, I might go dark for a second, but I'm still here.
So she wrote this essay and it's called The Great Feminization. And it's basically an exploration
Sent.
Sent. Okay, perfect. It's not, I don't think she ever explicitly names toxic femininity, but it's essentially what it is. It's that our cultural institutions and our culture at large has been feminized in women continuing to take places of leadership. And it's men participating in this too, but that toxic feminine energy is what do women in groups do? They're catty. They cancel other people. They call other people out, right? They get emotional about everything, right? This is not, I'm a woman. I love being a woman. I love my women friends. I have two sisters. This is not anti-fem. This is a conversation we need to have, that men also need to be in positions of leadership, and that women have weaponized their femininity against men, but also against other women. And that cancel culture is essentially a result of this great feminization.
I think it's such an interesting concept.
And if a man had written it, forget it. Even though there are certain, cultural commentators who are men who have said similar things. But by the way, it's not just women engaging in this pattern of behavior. Men have also been engaging in this pattern of behavior, but the pattern of behavior itself is toxic femininity.
Well,
so this illusion, this fantasy that women, what?
Sorry, go on. I'll wait for you to finish.
This fantasy that women in their leadership were going to far surpass male leadership or masculine leadership, it's a myth. Well, first of all, human beings are human beings. And this idea that one group of people, a sex, a race, a religion, etc., should be it in any shape or form is absurd, because human nature and humans. But it's just such an interesting, it's a really interesting premise. And it sparked this whole conversation on X. And earlier, before I saw it go viral, I sent it to you, Steph.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is something that is so rich for conversation. I was in conversation with a friend yesterday who was like, remember when we had conversations that weren't political?
I'm like, remember? Yeah, I miss it. I
But
miss it.
that's a semi-related concept, like, people like, are people engaged in on knowing who people are, who they are, not what groups they associate with, but who they are, what's your story, where do you come from, what was your childhood like, what, what do you enjoy, like, those times, but it's a separate thing. But anyway, what do you think about
Well, I wanna talk about the second part as well, but I think that I remember I've always had this kind of, allergy in a way to this idea I mean, this notion that, like, if we take down the patriarchy and replace it with a matriarchy, then things will be better. Like,
yeah,
I find that to be such a flawed concept independent of this article, although this article
yep.
kind of to why, because A, we live in a world where we have to share it with each other. And so
Imagine that.
and yeah, and
Imagine
so
that.
men and women equally should be participating in the structural, emotional, decision making, system building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Yeah.
of society. Now, of course, like anything, there will always be the reactive pendulum swing of, well, it has been too male dominated, so now we're trying to take it back. And the pendulum swing of culture is one of the most like nauseating fucking whiplash experiences. That it's like, can we just like come to them like me as like having strong Libra placements in this Libra new moon? I'm like, why can't we just like fucking chill out and come to the middle ground of like holding some type of balance? It's very
Yeah.
frustrating. But I just think that this article makes a very compelling argument for why going too far in the opposite direction is a toxic thing. And it's like, it's true. Like you and I, just on a personal level, being in a relationship with a man who
Mhm.
is very much like a more masculine man
Mhm.
in like, I mean, I know they're both sensitive and they're artists and they're in touch with their feminine, but like in
No, but
the
he thinks canceling is like like what? Like that's he's just like that's all just emotion. What like
exactly, but also you see how in relationship to you, the one who leads
yes.
if they're
Yes.
the masculine holds an important balance in that dynamic.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like not going to like specifically, and I know it's kind of one of these things that people are like, women are, where our emotions are totally contained, but it's like, no, they're not. Like, no, they're not. Like, they're never going to be. You're going to have delusions of grandeur and depression for your entire life. And that's just what being a woman is.
Like the same women who say that, like a day into their period are like, oh, that's why I was so busy
Right.
and upset 2 days ago.
And it's fine. Like, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean they can't be in positions of power. That classic argument of like, a woman can't be president because she gets her period. Now, of course, that's stupid, right? Of course, we understand that
Yes.
that's, but that's also why there shouldn't just be one president of any gender. There shouldn't just be one person running everything who can just act on the whims of either their emotions or their ego, which I would say emotions are more of a feminine principle and ego has a more masculine principle. We have a system to keep people in check to to make sure no one acts like, out of these whimsical spaces. So, yeah, I think the idea that and also men have gotten too feminine. Like, I'm
Yeah, but
sorry.
well, that's what the article is about. It's like it's people have this reaction of like the pussification of America, but that's such a it's like at a she articulates it in such a way where it's they have become more and we don't have a natural balance. That's the issue. It's like that's the
But
perfect
it's
design of complement.
right. Like the men, like our fathers were not. I mean, I won't speak for her dad. I don't know him, but like every boomer man I know is not in touch with their feminine side, and so this created, this lockdown of emotions. Don't feel, don't
Yeah.
express. Like, everything's fine. That created a generation potentially of millennial men and maybe Gen Xers. I almost think Gen Xers are like worse in a weird way of men who are overly emotive and like coddled and unable to be in their masculine because, again, the pendulum swung too far in one direction and they became reactive to the non-experience of it all. So it's like, again, can we find a place of you can feel your feelings, you have your experiences, but also like this is so stupid, but like you still know how to fix things. Like, I don't know, man stuff.
Man stuff. Have you ever
Like,
seen that video, the YouTube video where the girl has a hammer in her forehead?
no,
Have you seen this short? She has a
no.
hammer, she has a nail, sorry, in her forehead. And she's like, I mean, obviously it's a comedic thing. She's talking to her boyfriend or husband and she's like, "I just have a headache." And he's like like pointing to the nail. And she's like, you don't need to fix everything."
That's so
On
good.
and on about how she has a headache, and he's like, I
That's so good. I gotta see that. That's so good.
it's from like forever ago, like over a decade ago. But I think the balance, and of course, like within there's the spectrum and all that. Yes, yes, yes. But just the culture at large has swung. It's like everything is emotional outrage,
Yeah.
and everything seems to be like a calf fight. And it's like,
Yeah.
what is happening here? And it, I just think it's getting a lot of attention
Well,
for
it's
a
so
reason.
that it's totally like, yeah, we can talk about the genders and we can talk about relationship and we can talk about roles, whatever, but it's actually, and what the article is saying and what you're saying is that is the great problem of our like cultural tone
Yeah.
right now, political tone, all the things is that it is pure emotion, zero information. And it's just like, what are you fucking talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. But you're so sure. You are so sure. And nothing makes you more sure than a blind emotional rage. Like, it's just crazy.
It's really amazing. I mean, there have been things where like, I don't even know, it's super whatever. I have emotion about it. And Daniel's like, can we just talk about this rash? Like,
Present the facts. Like, I remember like this was such a lesson and I feel like it was a weird part of my like childhood trauma whatever, but actually it was like a gift is that like if I was emotional about something and I wanted to like talk to my dad about it, he would literally be like, I cannot understand this, like I'm telling you I can't understand it. So will you come to me and talk to me about this when you can make a rational discussion? And like
kind of amazing.
when I was young, I was like, it's like, get my emotions, you know? And but now as an adult, I'm like, that's actually like so smart and like
Yes.
necessary. And like he was teaching me a lesson that like not only do I not respond to this, but like the world Katsu should have been born in fucking 2000 because I'd be like crushing it right now. Like, actually, fuck you, dad. Why'd you have to teach me to manage my emotions? That's fucking bullshit. I would be crushing it right now if I was completely unhinged.
I,
So stupid.
unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
like, I, I really, it's a really important conversation. I'm also, just as an astrologer, I'm very curious as we move out of this extended water and air. So, like, let's say 2008, let's say this really started to kick up in 2008, 2009. Matt Walsh, the conservative, do you know who Matt Walsh is?
Yeah.
Like the ultra, right? Like 6 kids, Catholic. He actually has like pretty great taste in like films, like he's not so
Danny, how
culturally
dare
conservative.
you think a conservative could have something positive to offer
But
us?
I'm just saying, like, he's like he thinks like one of the greatest movies ever made is like There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men. So he put out this video today. I watched 20 of the 25 minutes. Speaking of like male, female. So I watching like 20, 25 minutes. I have it on speaker while Daniel's around. And where, while he's sharing this, he basically does a 25-minute video about how the reasons he thinks there hasn't been any truly great, consistently films or television since about 2007. And so he says most of the conservative movement will say it starts with like Obama, right? He's like, but actually, if you look at the first iPhone came out in 2007. And
Mhm.
he like charts it basically that we have no monoculture anymore. And because we have no monoculture, like you can look at wokeism and cancel culture and all of these factors, but that the way we take in information and the way we process information has led it that there is no monoculture and there's no, he's like growing up, like my parents may not have liked what I listened to, but they knew it. Like he's like, I don't know what they're, they had a phone, I wouldn't know any of the names of these people. There wasn't, speaking of rational, Daniel's like, but is that a perception? Is that true or is that not true? Like I told you how he grew up with like a whole Christian subculture where there wasn't like he was watching other things in kind of a parallel world. But it's an
Right.
interesting concept around like everything being fractured and everything being I don't know where I was going with this, but everything being these the way we take in information, the way we process information. And I feel like that has also something to do with this. Like, I feel like they're related in some way. Like, everything is a niche experience rather than one's experience against a greater or up against a, a bigger monoculture. But maybe this is the new monoculture
I was just gonna say,
or
like,
has been.
I I think that's really interesting, and I don't disagree, but I also think that the difference is that, like, when I watch movies and TV prior to
Yeah.
2007, what I'm experiencing, honestly, more than anything is, like, the feeling that it was, like, a simpler time. That like, the monster
Yes.
to me wasn't that as much as it was, like, and it could be because of technology. But, yeah, there was, like, a more shared there's a shared agreement about what the reality, like, that we were living
Right.
in was, and I feel like maybe since the iPhone, but certainly since, like, the past 5 years, there's been, like, an insane erosion of a collective identity that is healthy.
Right. But then what I said when Daniel brought that up, I said, well, this idea of a monoculture is a function of radio first, then television
Mm.
and film. Because if in like 1850 or even during and after the Civil War, you had like, meaning the people, whatever people were watching at their local theater in Kansas was different than the local theater, even like 25 miles away. Like, and I imagine that newspapers, yes, like they got information from what was happening in the White House, but the length of time it took to trickle down, that there was no shared, there was only community. So are we circling back to that?
Well, there was also
Except a
in the
global?
time in between there, there's also, like, there was a way better propaganda machine at play. Like,
Is that
right.
true?
Yes, there's no cohesive propaganda machine at this point, which is also I think what connects to, like, the conspiracy conversation that we were having last week is that because there isn't, like,
Oh,
one
that. But that, pre radio, pre television, Walter Cronkite,
or
pre like,
like, the printing press.
well, that's 1492.
I know, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how far back are we going where we weren't where there wasn't something being crafted.
I think that's human. I think telling stories around the campfire, you could argue, is like persuasive, trying to instill a moral structure. We talked about
Sure,
morality last time.
sure.
I think that humans are persuasive through storytelling,
Yeah.
right? So if there, as long as you had any kind of democratic process where you had to gain people's favor or vote, you would have had to use some persuasive medium, whether it was oratory or otherwise, right, in order to engender support. So humans are, my view of human nature is actually more Hobbesian, like nasty, brutish, and short. Like I tend to think humans lean more towards behaviors naturally that are not as altruistic, but that actually altruistic behaviors benefit the individual. And so we've adapted
Mhm.
biologically and socially to
Mhm.
be more altruistic, but then have been conditioned out of that. And now I think it's kind of coming back. I posted this thing on Instagram last night that someone else had shared in my circle, my new moon circle, that everybody wants a village. No one wants to be a villager.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's like all these biological arguments for altruism, like that humans are altruistic because it's biologically
Beneficial to them.
beneficial. There was like a class I took in college about this, like like anthropologically and
I
biologically.
read
But
this years ago where it's like you do nice things because you know that it feels good, essentially.
right, right. And so there's all these kind of benefits, but if you think about it, we have been conditioned out of our own altruism into this kind of social justice about what's happening, I don't know, across the globe, or even like at, the next state over, instead of like, what do people in my own community have food and resources like 3 miles? So I wonder
It feels like the convenience of an outrage towards something or the convenience of an altruism towards something that you can't actually do anything about
yeah,
is, I mean, it's like the ultimate weird bypassing.
yes, 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 yes. But I think what I was going with the whole thing in the beginning was that as we move out of water and earth astrologically and into fire and air next February, when we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction and we have the solar eclipse in Aquarius, and everything starts to move towards
Not more
fi-
eclipses. Ah.
fire and air. Don't you think? I know you're going to be giving birth like somewhere around that. Don't
Mm.
you think? Do you think? My question is there going to be another correction? Because it seems necessary. Like, meaning the great feminization, and then it doesn't have to be a pendulum swing all the way, but some kind of natural correction back
I
to back to masculine ways of interacting, and more. I do think we're going to see it in movies and films, and like the return of the hero and the classic American hero and that kind of thing.
I definitely think there is because I feel like I'm already, for the past few years, have already, seen smatterings of it with like more men's groups and more kind
Yeah.
of
But
nuanced,
feminized men's group or men's groups,
no, like nuanced. This
right?
is the thing. They're going through their own toxic
Yeah.
correctional
Yeah,
portal, which is
sure.
like
Yeah.
men's groups or even just men having conversations about masculinity and
Yes.
defining it in a new way for themselves in the context of this generation instead of in the context of their fathers and grandfathers is the slow, subtle recorrection of the toxic masculine that can then potentially be like a balancing anchor for bringing the feminine into realizing that there's value and beauty in a masculine principle as well. I think the great feminization, in the words of the article, is reactive.
Yes.
And
Well,
there's something that
yes.
play in the world that is already calling us back
Yeah.
in, because first of all, we fucking need men. Like this whole like feminism that hates men.
I don't
I
you have
remember
a
when I was
baby
a
boy.
com-
Like, I don't understand people. Like, people have baby boys and are like, "I hate men." Like, I will never understand that.
no, I know. And this I remember when I was doing comedy and I was like really single and I was talking so much and like making so much fun of like guys and da da da. And then I had this like very honest moment with myself because I started seeing all the girls do it too.
Yeah,
Like they're all single, and I started to really contemplate what I was really saying, like to my future self and my present self. And then it's funny because I just saw her. And then Gabby Reese, you know who Gabby Reese is?
yeah, the model, but also sporty. She's sporty. She does a sport.
She was an Olympic volleyball player, but she's
Yes,
also
that's it.
a very conscious, like, mom, like,
Yeah,
ma very, like, awake, and been married to her husband forever, whatever. I She came to the studio to do our old podcast, and she had been introduced to me through another female comedian, and I told her I was a comedian, and Gabby was like, "That's cool, but just watch how you talk about men in your act, otherwise you're gonna end up alone just like the other one," right? And I was like, "Damn, like, that's fucking real." And
yeah,
she found my email address and emailed me after that to apologize for being so
yeah,
harsh about it. But I was like, "No, no, no. Like,
yeah,
you fully were speaking to a part of me that was already coming online, which is that, like, I don't hate men. What I want more than anything is to have one in my life. So why am I speaking this way?" But it's coming from a place of injury and disappointment and,
yeah,
all these things. So we also need to rectify that within ourselves. The question of like, who hurt you?
yeah.
And why are you then taking that out on like the culture at large is
Yes.
a big personal inventory and work to do, because she was 100% right. It wasn't until I stopped having that type of dialogue that I could start to have healthier interactions with men that would ultimately lead to me finding one that I could really be with.
Yep.
But it started with him, like the work began well before that.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I have single clients who are looking for a relationship, one of the things I'll ask them, and they've come up against walls, is I'll do an exercise. Men are, answer it. And very often it they are not flattering words,
Mhm.
right? So, like, that, if that's what you're holding and that's what you want to call in, or that's who you want to be with, well, you are going to create mechanisms to keep that away because you associate that with hurt.
Yeah, what kind of person wants to be with someone who thinks that their entire gender is fucking stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
Well,
like it's
someone who's deeply self-loathing, and I think that is also
Mhm.
a sector of certain. I think there are certain men who maybe younger who have taught to hate themselves, who are, have internalized this self-hatred, and then that's a whole other thing, right? Because then they're not in themselves. They're in, like, I hate myself, I'm in denial of myself. Or how can you be the best version of you? It's like in
Mhm.
astrology, I say to people, you know, if like if you are if you are an gazelle, but you want to be an elephant, but you're going to be the best gazelle, right? So if you have these heterosexual men who hate themselves because they've been, conditioned to say, I am bad just because I am, not even because I've done any, just because of who, that's going to create all kinds of layers of complications. And it's the same thing for women, right? If you hate yourself as a woman, well, think about how that's going to show up in relationship. Because you're just saying, I hate myself. Drop the woman or me. You're just saying, I hate myself.
Mhm. Yeah, I hope that there is gonna be a, balancing, because we need it. Like and it's funny because I've said this for a while, and
Hey,
I
Lacey,
only
congratulations on the book.
yeah, congrats. Yes, buy her book. What is it? To be magnetic.
How to manifest.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
I hope
But
she's okay. We just called her out.
what I was yeah, sorry. What I was gonna say is, sorry, and you're welcome. No, what I was gonna say is that like I used to want to do a podcast called How to Be a Man. Love you.
Love
Um,
you. I
because
need to come to Mendocino and see those
I felt like
babies.
the idea of like how to be a man through the and funny enough, they ended up doing that podcast Man Enough, which was very similar to the idea that I had. And then
Yeah.
one ended up getting canceled, which was just like layers of like societal fuckery that I couldn't even fully process. I was like, I don't get it. Like, isn't he the good guy? But there isn't many shared spaces, is what I'm getting to, of the conversation between men and women that holds space for merging the way that we do things. There's
Or the,
conversations men are having about men, and there's conversations that women are having about women, but there's not that many shared spaces of how do we work together?
that's a really good point. Is
Yeah,
there like a relationship podcast about that? Where it's not
I mean,
just like Esther Perel as a woman, but like,
with someone else,
yes,
right?
yes.
There needs to be the other voice or additional voices that can show us, model for us the way that we hold space for the way that we do things differently and how that is actually beneficial and not problematic.
Well, that's actually what I loved about that master's program I did because it was taught by a husband and wife team who'd been married for 40 years.
Yeah.
And they very much held that kind of energy. I think she actually was a Cancer, like very feminine, and he was very masculine. He was very like scientific and rational, and she was very intuitive and emotional. And it was like a stark polarity, but they would counsel around that. And I think there's um is it the Hoffman Institute? Is that run by a husband and wife team?
I don't know, but I know a lot of people who've done that program and like
Yeah.
been changed.
Yeah. I mean, USM is like a very extended version of that, but I think I, it's got to be out there. But I think that's a really important point. It's like these conversations are siloed.
And then it's niche too. Like, my friend Linda Rock, so her and her husband hold like relationship container like workshops and seminars and stuff. Like she was a female coach and he's a male coach and they do that together. But it's like you have to be seeking that so specifically to find that. I'm talking about more, not even in the context of like personal relationship necessarily, but in the way that we do things in
Culture.
in culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the culture begins at home and how we are in relationships. Sure, it's very valuable, but like again, someone has to be looking for that and be aware enough to know that that's what they're looking for in their life, to know that that's what's, required for them to heal or become more intimate with their partner or whatever, versus just us being like, hey, like this was the way the world was run for some time in the masculine sense. And now we have this like feminine principle that's overriding certain things. Like, can we do both?
Right. And I think you bring up a really important point. Like, it doesn't even just have to be about relationship, it's
Yeah.
just how we move through the world and how we operate the world and how, yeah, I mean, I don't have the answer. Obviously, I don't have the answer for it, but it's interesting we're having this conversation on the Libra new moon.
I
But I
know,
do
just
think, like,
we try
but I
to
do think because Libra governs relationship and balance and harmony and symbols as the scales. But I think there is something very interesting. There's a lot of interesting, things that are going to transpire as this energy really shifts
yeah, what would it
next
say
year.
if posed the question to me of like, do I think there will be a pendulum swing? But like, I'm curious if you're just mapping it through the energy of the astrology, like, what would that say about kind of this transformation?
Well, certainly less feeling, more action in
Mm.
really simplistic terms,
I'm like
right?
so on a personal level, I'm like, "I've felt it all. I'm done
Yes, and I
feeling."
think a lot of people are just like, "I just wanna get down to business." A lot of
Yeah.
people are like, "I wanna go back to in real life," right? Like, I don't wanna spend as much
Remember
time I
that? I was like, I facilitated that talk a few weeks ago, and it, like, exploded my heart because I was like, "Oh, yeah, like, in real life still exists."
it's
And, like, I mean,
not
I swear to God, it sounds so, like, I
no.
don't even but I was sitting in front of a group of women, like, having this talk with Elisa and just having the interaction and the energy and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, it fucking sucks to drive to Santa Monica. Yeah, like, you gotta put on pants." Like, I know we all got
Yes,
used to, like, not doing those things, but, like, there's just something that cannot be replicated inside of the internet, and it breaks my heart that you and I have to do this constantly on the internet because there's nothing more that I would love to be able to do this with you in person. Even though it's a great tool that we have, I feel
yes,
something is lost when that there's no access to, like,
the
touch it.
touching. Well, this is like so this week has been a really big week for me in terms of IRL and, community because my little town, so they had this big fundraiser for the
Hold
local
for
organization.
Tennessee ad. Have you guys noticed that every episode Danny fucking turns out for Tennessee?
But it's this
By the
community.
way,
So there
she
was this like
doesn't
big fun.
fucking work for Tennessee. She just loves it so
They should pay me. They should pay me. Um, I'm gonna start getting a petition. Like, we don't want any more people to move here. Shut the F up. So anyway, there was like this big fundraiser for the local organization, and it was like such a robust fundraiser. And it was at this farm of this woman who I work out with. And then I did my new moon circle in person, not at my house, but out here at the yoga studio. But then last night we did this meditation out on one of these women's porches, which it was like up in these hills. It was so gorgeous. And it was all these there was like real life community and faces that I had seen at the local coffee shop. And it was like, oh my God. The
Yeah.
last time I felt this way was really like when I lived in the East Village in the early 2000s. And I would like go to the same coffee shop and then I would see people around the East Village.
Yeah.
Like a little bit, maybe Venice 2010, but by then people were already online and shifting to focus being online, right? Early 2000s, Facebook wasn't even around. It was like the first, I was like, and like you said, it was like, oh, I'm like lit up by this. It really, but I don't think I'm alone. I think a lot of people are craving that. And I think a lot of people think they need to be in major metropolises to experience that. Like I know this woman out here. Yeah, she moved here from Minnesota. She's a few years younger than me. After a breakup, she moved to this small town and she said to me, she said, it's the least lonely I've ever been in my life and I'm single.
Mhm.
So I think people think, oh, they need to be in these major towns, but there is something I think that's why the fantasy of Gilmore Girls, I think that's why that show is so people always talk about how Friends, like people are going back and watching Friends. I think even more so maybe Gilmore Girls, right? It's like because it's this idea of being in community. But in order to be in community, you have to accept people's quirks.
Yeah.
You have to accept
Do, you have to be willing to expose your own. Like, I
yes.
think that's a big thing is that and something the internet has, like, done negatively, like, hold on, there's a scroll of things the internet has done, but one of the things is that it's created and we people talk about this all the time, that how Instagram is a highlight reel and everyone's putting out advice and classes and best practices and shiniest photos and most edited and
Yeah.
everything is this is my best self. But it's like when you're in community, people are going to see you're not your best self, and that's going to have to be okay. And you have to accept that you're not always going to be your best self, and that if you're just a messy human, that that's okay too, and people will accept you and love you for that. You don't have to always be so presentational. And so I
Well, I
think
think the
it's like
right community will. I think there are
right,
certain communities that are much more, y- image based.
Yeah, but then you're not really in your community. You know, you're
Yes,
just
that's true.
in
That's true. That's true. That's true.
you're just in a place with people.
That's
Like
true.
I I go to a workout class with some moms from a part of this
Yeah,
town that are like very wealthy. And I was actually reflecting today where I was like, why? Like every time that I leave them, I like feel like I'm in seventh grade again and I like don't fit in. Like
I know
it's like
that feeling.
I'm 40 years
Yeah.
old and I'm like, do they like me? Like, am I cool? Like, and it's like the worst feeling. But it's because like they're fine.
Mm.
But they're not my people. And like
Yes.
that's okay.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yes.
fine. I still want to like do my hour of weightlifting and then get the fuck out of there. That doesn't have to be where I like
Yeah.
kumbaya.
No, I mean th- that has been a realization of mine, that it's like to try and fit oneself as a square peg into a round hole. It's like it, one ends up just feeling bad. Like
It's
there's
just
just
not
no way.
not authentically you and you're aware of that. And like,
I like
don't
messy. I want to be around messy. I want to be around real. I just do. Like other people may not.
I mean
I don't want to feel like I have to put on makeup
that's
to
why I love
like.
when I was like in the North Fork, like doing Pilates with like all like 60-year-old women. I'm like, this is where
Yes,
I feel like the
it's the
most
best.
comfortable.
That's
I
what I
feel
have
so
out here, a lot of that, and I
yeah.
just find it so refreshing. It's like they've raised their kids, if they've had kids, they're just living life, and I think it it's really nice to be around elders in that way,
Yeah, totally.
you
And
know?
in a healthy community, you'll have a mix of all those things. Like
Like,
Tyler
we
is
have yeah.
being a 75-year-old woman and she is a therapist and she just does so many things. But like, I swear to God, like my life has gotten so much better just by having a woman who's 75 come over every week and just like sit with me and talk to me and reflect with me and just like I literally told my I was like, she's like therapizing me, but like secretly because
Well, it's
it's
grandmother wisdom.
just
It's
for women
grandmother,
that
mother.
100%. It's the
Yeah.
best.
No, it really is the best, and, like, I just it's the antidote to a world chasing youth.
Okay, this is a whole like hard right, but like I was texting a couple of my family members, well, my gay brother and my, very culturally tapped in cousin, where I was like, is it just me? The same one I quizzed about. Is it just me or like I'm so freaked out by Kris Jenner because
It's I'm the only person that's, like, not so that's the mom
she's the mom
who
and she
got the facelift that looks like she's young?
like look, if we're talking quality of plastic surgery and action of nipping and tucking, sure, like objectively in the Science Museum of Plastic Surgery, does she look amazing? Like, yes.
Fine. Is she gonna be in the Smithsonian?
She's gonna be
American Invention?
like fucking so preserved. But it was like she came on my feed and I just was like, this is disturbing to me. Like she's in her 70s, she's gonna die, and she's gonna look 30. Like,
I don't understand. I'm not wired like that. I feel really blessed that I wasn't raised with parents that put a big emphasis on that. It was kind of challenging in New York City, because my parents just did not put a premium on that. Like, but I, I, I really don't get, like, I just don't understand. When I see like like if you watch older movies,
yeah.
who's the Italian guy that sits in his car with his Italian New York accent,
Oh,
very low
he's
key?
really funny. I just got introduced to him.
Right? Like, I posted his thing about
I
seeing
saw
old
that.
movies, right? Like, but you see, and they're beautiful faces, but they're real faces. Like, I don't, what is that? I was actually just having this conversation like an hour ago with one of my best friends. We were talking, we think the pendulum's going to swing back on that, where real
Because
faces are going to come back.
circle back to the original uh sort of premise of this conversation. here's a question. Do you think that the trend of agelessness or
Mhm.
snipping, pulling, injecting, all this stuff, do you think that that is a toxic masculine reaction or a toxic feminine
A
reaction?
toxic feminine, and I'll tell you why. Because, well, obviously we're talking about heterosexual relationship. When I say this, I'm talking about heterosexual relationship. Well, actually, and it applies to anybody. People are genuinely, I think it's actually sexlessness, because I think
Mhm.
people are actually genuinely attracted to uniqueness. Like some men, believe it or not, I had this conversation with a guy, I don't like a friend of Daniel's a couple of years. He was like, I love big noses on women. I love it. I think it's the sexiest thing, right? Talk to another. Some guys like Zoftig, some guys like thin, some guys like, and I don't mean this to objectify. I'm saying if your signal for mating, if you want to get biological, if
Yeah.
your signal for mating is cut off, it's like when women take birth control and they shut off their pheromones. They get off the birth control and they realize they can't stand their
Oh,
person's smell.
Elisa was talking about this in our chat. Elisa Vitti, for anyone who wasn't here in the beginning, she wrote Woman Code and created the cycle syncing method. I just did a chat with her, but she was talking about this about how so many women who are on birth, so part of the reason that there's a fertility crisis around birth control isn't just because how it messes with your hormones, but it's also because
Mhm.
it you attract the wrong mate.
Yes. So extend that. That's not just pheromones. It's like we are attracted to people's quirks and idiot. If we all look the same, to me, it's actually a sign of sexlessness.
Mhm.
Like
I think that's
I
so interesting because I was thinking about the other day how I have like less Botox, less time to care about my face, like all these things, and I've never felt more like I've never been accepted and loved in the way that I am with Tyler, and as also with myself, and have less insecurity around all of it because I'm just letting myself be seen.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel would kill me if I did anything corrective to my face
Yeah.
or body. Like, y- yeah. So I feel very blessed to be in that situation, although I chose into that, right? But I I actually think it has to do with how sexless our culture is. Because I know for me, like, I am not attracted to perfection. I don't think it's sexy, personally. I think people's quirks are what make them. It's this glint in the eye. It's like the way, like, I don't know. I just, right? It seems to me interesting that we are seeing a massive rise in plastic surgery as statistically people are having less and less sex.
Is that true?
Well, I don't know if statistically that's what they say, but I would venture to I wonder if those that are having it are are engaging in less and less sex. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you think, oh, that's because what is the point? Because it makes you more attractive, but that's
Well,
not
that's
really energetically what draws people to you. It's an energetic thing.
like I just couldn't
Sexiness is energetic.
fuck that girl because her forehead was so fucking tight. I just was, man, I could see my own reflection off that tight fucking forehead and I just had to fuck it. Like, what is
And
this?
I know I have two sisters. They're both in their 50s, and you know, my mom, despite all of her, she never touched herself, and like she never got plastic surgery, but
Maybe that's the problem.
she probably didn't do that either. But my sisters are in their 50s and they're so beautiful to me. They've never touched anything. We talk about it. It's like it's not about, but I think that there is something, I don't know. I've never read this. I haven't read people talk about it. Maybe they are, but I think there is an inverse relationship.
I mean, I'm curious about the statistics of like the sexuality and culture. I think that's really interesting because I feel like there's also a strange performative sexuality that doesn't register as real sexuality. So
Well, it's
I,
not sensuality. It's not like
yeah,
actual, like, and I'm not talking about like women's hormonal fluctuations as they enter perimenopause and menopause and
I
like,
don't know.
Like, I'm talking about like prime mating age, 25-year-olds getting plastic surgery. I'm talking about prime mating age, 20s, early 30s. That the uptick in plastic surgery and other corrective measures. I'm not talking if like you really need, one of the shots to lose weight for medical. I'm talking about like just vanity. I want to be like, I would be very curious in if there's any correlation between that and it, not only having sex, but enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. It is kind of like a disembodied.
They're
Oh, no, you,
related.
oh,
Oh,
no,
did I
you froze.
freeze? But I'm here. I've got all the bars.
You're back. You're back.
Sorry. Um, I wonder, doesn't it seem
Did
like an interesting?
oh, oh, wait, we have a visitor.
My favorite little man.
Are you a visitor? Hi.
Look at that face.
Hi, little
Hi,
visitor.
bud.
Say hi, Shishi.
Where's your sister? Is your
Where's
sister in mom's belly?
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, where'd daddy go?
Oh,
Do you want to go get your diaper changed? No. Have a kiss?
look at the curl. Oh my God, does he have a raspy voice?
You have a
Like
little
Lou has a raspy voice?
All right. I'll put this down. You want me to put my shoes
babe.
on?
Okay, he can just stay.
Let's see.
You know
if it-
how Lou has
Yeah,
like a little raspy voice?
so raspy.
It's the cutest thing.
He does have a really tiny top knot because we don't know what to do. You want to go to the gym with daddy? You want to go? Say bye to everyone else? Say bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, daddy's going to the gym. No,
I can't.
Oh, wait, they've been playing this really funny game, which is okay, can you close my gate for me? Thank you. Go to the gym. Thank you. Love you.
Stop it.
Speaking of masculine versus feminine, they've been playing this game where like they both want my attention all the time. And like, so Ashley would be like, no, me, mommy. And then Tyler would be like, no, me, mommy. And then I'm like, what about mommy? Like, mommy needs a mommy.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, thanks for pausing for Ashy visit.
Anytime. I feel like we're over an hour, so I don't know what your
No, I mean,
feelings
I'm
are.
just reading this article so that I can fully like. It's funny because just to wrap it up, like the article talked about how over feminization is overly emotional, like we talked about, and I'm tracking my mind as I was reading it.
Yeah.
Having the exact reaction that it was like baiting me to have. And I was like, oh, that's the thing, is that like my emotion wants to take over and resist this so that I can't think about this.
But that awareness is key. It doesn't mean you're not going to have the feelings, not going to have the emotion, right?
But you don't have
But
to take 10.
Yeah, that's pretty high. Nice job.
Well, I'm pretty self-aware.
I know you are.
To a fault. Well, I really appreciate everyone being here, and I felt like this was really fun.
Do we have any comments?
Any comments? Concerns? Additions?
We'd rather protest than help our neighbors. Yes, Natalie, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And we're also like, I mean, I don't want to go down this hole because I feel like this is a rabbit hole that maybe isn't a good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to hold on what I was going to say. It was like, would be another hour-long conversation.
Spicy. Right. But we're not going next week. Steph's birthday's November 3rd, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
And she's taking a road trip.
I'm actually going to Lacey's place in Mendocino. Yeah. So that'll be so fun.
Just with a capital J.
Come.
I can't come there, but I am determined in 2026 to go. I am determined. Is she going to be there?
No, just us. sadly.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really curious about just being up there and the energy. And then, so we'll be back after the 7th.
Okay, perfect.
Um, yeah,
You had to deal with all my travel. Now
I
I'm
know.
here.
Now I'm on the
So
road, on the road again. Well, guys,
the
new
Great
moon.
American Road Trip.
What's your new moon? What's your new moon sign off, Danny?
Find a way to work with people, not against them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really a sign off? I feel like we need to find ways to find common ground, to connect, not to self-sacrifice, not, but to find ways in which we're more like different, or ways that we can work on something together, or compromise, not compromise ourselves, but just
I had this thing today where I was supposed to go on this meeting that I was really, really excited about, and then they like
Mhm.
rescheduled it again. And like my initial response was like, "Fuck these people," you know. And then they wrote back like, "No, no, we really want to meet." Blah, blah. And I just was like, "This is such a Libra moment where I have to just like let it be on both of our terms. Like just because I wanted it to happen today
yeah,
or a week ago, doesn't mean that that's like what the right timing is for like the whole thing." So just like instead of reacting, being pissed, just surrender and be like, "Okay, they came back to me and that's what I wanted." Like,
that's it.
not on my time, but that's okay. It's not about that. It's about it
I
working
mean,
all
2025, it is such a what is happening year.
best meme ever. 2025 feels like being awake during surgery. I was like,
Uh,
whoever wrote this it's speaking to my soul.
yeah, it'll be 2026 is one for the book, so we'll see.
Well,
But
gladly,
read this article and leave comments if you
I,
want.
I put the link
I don't
in.
want to give you homework, but but anybody who's watching, if you want to read the article, and it's definitely provocative, but I think these are conversations that we need to be having.
Totally. The shying away from controversy and provocative conversations is not helping us evolve or
Right.
grow.
But it's not provocative. It's just for the sake of being provocative. It's really bringing forward some, as women, and but just needing to take inventory.
So just before we go, so I've been studying like the Vedic astrology thing.
Yeah.
In the Aries rising, the is like Rahu archetype,
Hmm.
what the whole thing.
Hmm.
And I have that, which I've talked about, and
Hmm.
the how she describes it is like the necessary rebel. And
I love
it
that.
said when there's a rebel and for the sake of being a rebel, it creates problems. But
Hmm.
the necessary rebel exists in time frames. They thrive in time frames of tyranny. And I feel like that's what this time is like we have to necessitate our own rebellion in order to fight back against what's coming down around us. And
Yeah.
like to me, that feels so empowering where it's like I'm not just being unpopular to like provoke things. I'm saying this from a place of truth and authenticity to engage in truthful discussion.
Right. It's like, it just also reminds me of a saying that Daniel always says, like, prophets are never accepted in their hometown, or
Right.
whatever that's saying, right? It's like, it's as old as time.
Yeah. But we shouldn't be afraid to
No.
have conversations or write articles like that or read articles like that or whatever because like also they're just ideas, guys. They're just ideas, they're just words. It's okay.
Words are not violence.
They're not going to hurt you. They might offend you and you might have to deal with that.
Stones may hurt my bones.
I
What
know.
happens to that? Sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me. What happens to that?
Oh my
Bring it
god.
back to the 1980s playground, 1990s playground.
Yes.
I
Okay.
can't believe we're going to Mendo. I'm so envious. I can't. You got to send me all the photos. You got to FaceTime me when you're there.
Oh, I will. I mean, maybe we'll even have time for an impromptu live. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm down.
Stay open. Stay on your
Rebecca.
toes.
I'm
Keep your head I love you so much.
Love you so much.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone. Thanks
guys.
for being here.